Hey everyone, welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here with us today because we're looking at a real-world puzzle that is, honestly, just fascinating. We're going to unpack exactly how the art of catching fugitives has completely and fundamentally transformed from the ground up. If you've ever watched a true crime documentary or read a thriller and wondered how authorities actually track someone down in the modern era, you are in the exact right place. We are moving way past those classic smoky room detective tropes and looking strictly at the reality of modern data. So it all begins with this central, super captivating mystery. How exactly do the world's most elusive suspects successfully vanish? And, maybe more importantly, how does a massive global surveillance net eventually track these highly motivated people down? It's the ultimate game of cat and mouse, but the board they're playing on has changed completely over the last few decades. Today, we're going to map out exactly how an intricate, invisible net of data ultimately closes in on those who are trying their hardest to disappear. As you'll see, the shift from physical footprints to digital ones has completely rewritten the rules of the chase. Part 1. Ghosts of the Past. This is the first era we're examining today, a time when traditional, physical, boots-on-the-ground policing meant that some people could just completely slip through the cracks. To truly grasp where we are today, we first have to understand exactly where we came from. Back in the era of traditional policing, the main tools for tracking fugitives were pretty basic: shoe leather, physical evidence, and eyewitness accounts. And while that was effective for a lot of localized cases, this purely physical approach allowed some people to completely slip through the net. They faded away like literal ghosts. Think of historical figures, names you might actually recognize, like the Freeway Phantom or the Doodler. These were highly elusive suspects who managed to evade the massive physical policing efforts of their time. They operated in a world where disappearing literally just meant crossing a physical border, moving to a new town, and keeping your head down. But contrast that with today. The physical evasion tactics of the past are now pitted against sophisticated, modern electronic monitoring facilities. The sheer reality of trying to evade these digital nets today makes vanishing, at least in the traditional sense, almost completely impossible. The physical ghost has been totally replaced by the inescapable digital footprint. You can't just change towns anymore, right? Your data follows you everywhere. Part 2. The linguistic fingerprint. Okay, let's dive into this and transition from physical policing to the microscopic clues left behind by suspects today. So we're moving away from the physical streets and zooming way, way in, like down to the microscopic clues suspects unknowingly leave behind in the modern era. Take the word tantamount. Seems simple enough, right? Just a standard vocabulary word. But actually, it's highly unusual in everyday casual conversation. When authorities were hunting the notorious Unabomber Ted Kaczynski for nearly 2 decades, the guy seemed like an absolute ghost. But he made a fatal mistake. He wrote. And investigators weren't just looking for physical DNA on his postage stamps. They meticulously analyzed the specific vocabulary choices in his sprawling manifesto. See, Kaczynski favored certain highly educated, kind of archaic phrasings, and a rare formal word like tantamount acted as an invisible, highly traceable fingerprint. It completely narrowed the pool of suspects based on education level, reading habits, and deep-seated linguistic quirks. When his brother read the manifesto and recognized those specific turns of phrase, the massive manhunt came to an end. It just goes to show, a single word can literally be the thread that unravels the entire sweater. And this incredible concept builds into an actual rigorous science called forensic linguistics. Basically, it's the analysis of specific, highly unusual vocabulary choices in a suspect's communications to ultimately identify them. And guys, this isn't just science fiction or some clever plot device for a TV show. This is a highly meticulous, proven stage of the modern manhunt. When a suspect writes a ransom note, drafts a threatening email, or sends an anonymous text, they almost always think they're hiding securely behind a screen or a piece of paper. But through forensic linguistics, they're actually screaming their identity to investigators who know exactly how to read the patterns. We all have a unique cadence, right? A specific way we structure sentences, favorite words we unconsciously rely on. One tiny, microscopic clue, just one formal turn of phrase that doesn't match a suspect's alibi, can completely break a cold case wide open. Part 3. The global digital dragnet. Now we're panning the camera out from the micro level of single written words straight to the macro level of global electronic signals. And this brilliantly illustrates how the mechanics of a global interception system, famously known as echelon, actually work. It is truly staggering when you break it down. Step 1 begins way up high above us, with a network of satellites silently and continuously gathering vast streams of communication data from across the entire globe. For step 2, that intercepted data is then beamed back down to Earth, specifically to incredibly sensitive receivers located in strict radio quiet zones. These are isolated geographic areas completely free from everyday cellular and broadcast interference. And that brings us to step 3. This pristine environment allows for the massive, unfiltered interception of mass communications. We're talking emails, faxes, phone calls, digital transfers, the whole shebang. The sheer scale of this operation is almost difficult to wrap your head around. A suspect might be clever enough to evade a local police officer on foot, but evading a satellite network feeding immense data streams into a radio quiet zone designed for mass interception? Yeah, that requires a completely different and frankly nearly impossible set of technical skills. The net literally covers the entire globe. Part 4. The new manhunt paradigm. Let's bring all this together and redefine what a manhunt actually is today, seeing as we've moved completely away from the physical chase. Bringing all of these immense elements together fundamentally redefines what we're even talking about when we say the word manhunt. We've moved entirely away from the physical chase that defined the ghosts of the past and stepped into a radically new paradigm, the indelible footprint. So the crucial point is that a modern manhunt is no longer just a physical, boots-on-the-ground chase through alleyways or across state lines. It has been entirely reframed as an informational network battle. Every single written word logged on a forum, every single electronic signal bouncing from a smartphone to a cell tower or a satellite leaves a permanent, traceable mark. The elusive suspects of today, they aren't fighting detectives with magnifying glasses anymore. They are fighting an invisible, interconnected global net of data that never sleeps, never takes a day off, and most importantly, never forgets. If you touch the grid knows you were there. Which leads us to a final, pretty compelling thought to leave you with today. We've seen how forensic linguistics can zero in on a single word, and how massive global systems like Echelon cast a net over the entire world to track down the most elusive targets. But the rules of this informational network battle, they apply to absolutely everyone who participates in the modern connected world. And yep, that includes you and me. If every written word and every electronic signal leaves an indelible footprint, what does your informational footprint say about you? Thank you so much for joining me for today's Explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time as we break down another fascinating topic.